Good. All right. Well, thank you for coming in to our monthly sales meeting. We do every single month here, kind of thing. My name is Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker at Maximum One. And I've got a lot of really cool information I want to share with you guys. Some new things, some old things, and just kind of keep you guys up to speed. I'm really glad that you come into this or kind of view it online, because my goal for a sales meeting is not to have a meeting for the sake of having a meeting. I try and put a lot of effort into this because I want to prepare you guys to be able to have those conversations with your clients. There's a lot of news, and I'm going to show you some of it. And most of the time, it's not good anytime it comes out to anything about real estate. So, but one of the big things that we have coming in the news right now that I do want to talk about here briefly is the lawsuits that we have. And so right now there's several lawsuits, but there's one major one that's kind of going on at the moment, and it's a commission lawsuit. Now, let me back up and say, first of all, this is not in Georgia. Okay, Georgia's not named, Georgia MLS isn't named, FMLS isn't named. Now, where that is named are in states and in localities where a buyer's agent commission was mandatory. So like in Georgia, all of our commissions are negotiable. And our sellers for years, the sellers have to offer a buyer's commission right now. Now, I mean, it's stupid if they don't, but do they have to? No. In the states where they're having this lawsuit, those states there's also several companies that are named in there, because those states, their local MLS associations and those brokerages there all said that a buyer's compensation was mandatory. You had to do it. You had to offer at least this percent. That kind of thing was done. And that's really where the lawsuit kind of stems from, is that buyer's agent compensation must be included. And so now, I'm not saying that it's not smart, and I'm not saying it doesn't make a lot of sense and it shouldn't be done. I'm just saying that that's one of the big deals and one of the differences about why we aren't named in this lawsuit. But that being said, it does have potential to have lasting effects across all of our industry, kind of thing. And one of the big deals for us is that I feel like we really need to make sure that we're protecting. We really need to protect buyer agency. But some of that comes from making sure that we're being really sound in what we're doing. One thing that kind of bothers me, because it's very easy to talk about lawsuits, but also we have to kind of get inside some of our own business. And so, like, if you even look at this is from the National Association of Realtors, and this is just on agent representation and disclosure. And they went out and they polled a lot of buyers, and they found that only 24% of buyers signed signed a buyer brokerage agreement, in the very beginning, and only 21% said that they signed it when the contract was written. So basically, 45% of our clients think that they signed a buyer brokerage agreement. Now, in order to submit an offer here in Georgia, you have to have a buyer brokerage agreement. So what we have a really big disconnect between what our clients are understanding and what we're doing, because we know that buyer brokerage agreement is at least getting put in by the time that the contract is submitted. But that being said, there's a big disconnect, and I do feel part of this is coming from Authentisign and the digital signature side of things. And so the first thing I really want to kind of implore you guys to do is that, please, even if I love Authentisign, I love digital signatures, but when you send that over, please make sure that you say, hey, when you get this, call me. Let's go through this together, because there's a big disconnect between all they do is just go to start signing, and then they sign at the end and they have no idea what they're signing. And so agency representation is really important. The other side that we really need to be prepared for is, the days when we could just say, we work for free is not here. That's the thing that for years, back in my day, everybody was, you know what? You don't pay me, the seller pays me. And really, that doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of your buyers. They're like, so you're going to do what I say, and you're only going to be here to take care of my interests, but that guy over there is paying you. It really doesn't make a lot of sense. And at the end of the day, when you buy the house, weren't commissions included in the purchase of the sale. Sorry, some days the mouth just stops. The brain keeps going. But commissions were included as well. And so first thing is make sure that when we are completing our buyer brokerage agreements, that we are going in and don't put down 0 or NA or whatever, or I mean, we see all kinds of crazy things on the buyer brokerage agreements. And so if you put down 0 and you show a property that has 0 cooperation, you know, the seller's offering no compensation for the buyer, for the buyer's agent. What have you just agreed to do? You agreed to work for free, right? And so we need to be very clear that I think that, you know, we have some potential repercussions coming from lawsuits like this, but the biggest one is going to be, we have to make sure that we're doing a really good job at what we do. We need to state, these are the services I offer. These are the fees that I charge. Like that's exactly how professionals do it. We don't just slide it in like a real professional didn't say, you know what, don't worry about it, somebody else is going to pay me. Right. So we need to be the professionals that we are. And so I just want to make sure that we're kind of attacking this head on as an industry, as a company, you know, because I want to make sure that we're protecting buyer agency. My mom lives in Australia, so we go over there, and over there they don't have any buyer agency. You only have listing agents, and they do all the work, and they also don't have MLSs because there's no way to search for things because it's a much different industry. It's that way throughout a lot of Europe, and so it's important that we protect buyer agency, but we have to make sure that we're doing the job right. Yeah.
So say for instance, the once you get to a contract and it's 2.5%, but you've put 3% on your buyer's agency.
Okay. So
are we then going back to them to say you're accountable for the other 0.5%?
You have several options there. So what happens if you put down 3% and just so everybody online can hear as well. No, I'm just reiterating kind of thing what you said. So in that case, you have several options. One, you can actually go ahead and submit a commission agreement and see if the seller is willing to pay that additional. You can, you know, increase the sale price by the amount and see if that would go through. You can rebate that back to your clients. You can have your clients pay. So there's a myriad of options that you have on that side of it. But don't just leave it as variable. All right. Have you guys heard about LLPAs? You know, and if you watch the news right now, there's a whole lot of folks who are talking about this really unfair mortgage tax on people that have good credit, and that they changed it, and like you know, social media has kind of really been wrapped up about it, and it's been, you know what, we're taxing the rich to help the poor kind of thing, and so and there's a lot of folks who are kind of bent out of shape about it. And so first of all, let me explain what a loan level price adjustment is. Loan level price adjustments, this is something that happened back in 2008, and it happened in part because of what happened in 2006 and 2007 when the market crashed. They put in LLPAs, and basically because we had a lot of you know, back in 2006, you know, part of the problem was we had mortgage companies and you know, even us in the real estate industry, like we were all Oprah Winfrey of real estate. If you had a pulse, we were going to get you in a house. Whether or not you could pay for it or not, whether or not that made money, there was a lot of shady things going on. And same thing was kind of happening in the mortgage industry. A lot of the mortgage, you know, Fannie and Freddie were actually losing money during those days, that kind of thing. And so they went through and they put in these loan level price adjustments, which said that, you know, the higher the risk that a borrower is, the more that they're going to charge them, as far as like on top of the mortgage rates. So if you have really good credit, you're going to pay better. You're going to have a lower rate, overall rate, than someone who has really good, I mean, really poor credit kind of thing. So, you know, this was put in place. It really did kind of help that out. We really do kind of need that because it does set kind of a level playing field, because back then no one wanted to put something in. They're afraid, well, then everyone will go to FHA or everyone will go to conventional if we put it in. So they put it in kind of across the board. So, and they adjust this every few years. They go in and they tweak it. And some of it is based on risk. And so they look at which loans are defaulting. And then they also look at home ownership and how can they promote more home ownership. And so when the loan level price adjustments came out, you can see that there's some reason why people would look at that. And so this is actually the slide that got a lot of people upset. And so you can see that, this up here is, what their loan to value is. And so like, this is, they're putting 15% down, 10 to 15% down, that kind of stuff. And then over here, this is their credit score. So the higher the credit score, the lower credit scores are down here. And so they went through and they said, you know what? Some of these lower credit scores, they've been doing the data and they found out that some of the lower credit scores weren't as bad of risk, weren't as high of risks as they had on the books previously. And so they improved some of those rates down here. And then they found out some of the folks up here weren't as good of a risk as they thought they were. And so they raised the rates on some folks. But when you look at it, you just immediately think,
The volume just doesn't cut up.
gosh, what's going on, right? I mean, when you look at it, you think, okay, we're going to tax the rich to compensate for the folks with lower credit scores that are getting a real boost here out of that. And so part of this is risk, but part of it is also they want to promote homeownership. If they want to help people get into more, and so they went and did that. So if you just look at this, you think, gosh, I'm putting down 20%. And I got a 740, why are you raising my rate 75 basis points? Seems kind of jacked up, right? And so when you just look at this, you think, oh, the folks with better credit scores are paying more than the folks with lower credit scores. Well, but this is only the change.
Yeah, it's not coming from here for some
This
reason.
is actually, hey, Wordsworth, would you mute yourself, please? So these are the changes, but this is the actual rates and what they really are. And so what you'll see is you'll see where, a 760 credit score is not paying more than a 640 is, right? So when you actually look at it, you'll see that the lower the rates, what do you notice about lower rates versus the loan amounts? The amount they're adding on. So the lower the interest rate, I mean, the lower their FICO score, the higher, the more that they're adding on down here. And so it's still, they're adding a point up here, and that's higher than it was before, but it's still better than it was down here. And so I wanted to kind of talk about this because there's a lot of people who have really been out of shape about this. And we've even had sellers who are like, I'm not going to buy again just because they're just trying to stick it to, if you got good credit, that they're really trying to stick it to you. Well, that's not the case. But the other thing here that kind of goes with that is these changes were announced, or when do y'all think the changes were announced? January. Yeah. And so we put and so a lot of lenders, this is when they started putting these adjustments in January. It didn't come due until the first of this past month, but everyone's already been doing it. So it's one of those things that, like, guess what? If you got a mortgage in February, this was already probably going in place on that mortgage anyway. They started quoting it as soon as the new rates came out. And so, if you hear about loan level price adjustments, yes, they do change them, and they change them based on risk, but also changing on promoting homeownership. And so still at the end of the day, someone with a higher FICO score is going to pay less than someone with a lower credit score. Bottom line. All we're looking at is what those numbers really end up being. Make sense? Good. All right. So now the good news here is that our mortgage rates are trending low. So we are starting to see a downtick in interest rates. And that's something that we really, really like to see. Because, what has the Fed's been done? Even just this past Wednesday, the Fed raised the federal funds rate by another 1/4 point. And so why are they raising the federal funds rate? Oh, y'all gotta wake up a little bit. All right, they're raising the federal funds rate because they're trying to slow the economy down. The economy's been kind of running on in overdrive for a while. And so that's been making inflation go through the roof. And so you can see on this graph here, the bottom line represents the federal funds rate. You can see when they started raising the federal funds rate, this consumer price index, what started happening with the consumer price index pretty quickly? So what happened with inflation once they started raising the federal funds rate? it started moving back into a territory where we're, are we there yet? No, but what we're seeing is, the Fed is kind of meeting their goal. They're trying to slow the economy down. And the Fed, they've been trying to do this thing called a soft landing. And it's still yet to be seen. But what we are seeing is that our inflation rates are coming down. Now, they're not where we want them to be yet, but they are trending down. Right now, two of the big sticklers that we have are housing as well as energy prices. But we are seeing where inflation is trending down. And is that good for us? Yeah, I mean, just for overall, for all Americans, it's really good, but it's also good in a lot of other ways as well, because inflation drives mortgages. I know that, our mortgage rate is highly tied to the 10-year treasury. Like when the 10-year treasury goes up, mortgage rates go up. But guess what drives the treasuries? Inflation. And so if you'll look at like when inflation shoots up, what happens with interest rates? They go down, or they go up as well. And when inflation comes down, interest rates down, same kind of thing. And so, we're in the way it's been, gosh, if you think all the way back to last year, housing had its big challenge when what happened to interest rates last year? They went through the roof, right? And so what did sales do?
Slow down.
They slowed down. We didn't see properties drop. We saw the number of sales go down. We didn't see values drop. We saw the total number of transactions drop. And so where we're at is that we're in a place where the rate environment is really dictating the level of business that's really going on out there. Because even a lot of our sellers kind of feel somewhat trapped. Like I'm sitting in a 3.5%, 4% mortgage. Why would I do a 6.5% mortgage kind of thing? And so, as that moves down into it, if we can get under six is going to be a really good day. If we get down to 5.5, it's going to be even better. And I do see us heading that way. Because, this is from the Fed chief, Jerome Powell, the head man of the Fed, said a mild recession later this year with a recovery over the subsequent next 2 years. And this is coming from the people that are raising the federal funds rate. Because what they're trying to do, slow down the economy. But if they slow down the economy too much, what do we hit? Recession. Now, we have to understand that recession, I'm not saying recession is good. And I'm not like, woo, recession. That's not what I mean. But that being said, housing has already had its recession, right? Interest rates drove our recession. Interest rates drove our transactions that's really going on. And the biggest problem for us in housing is when our clients think of recession, we remember 2006, 2007. What happened then? What that recession did? That recession crushed housing, right? But who caused that recession? Me. We were there, like we were part of the problem, right? Earlier when I said, we were all Oprah Winfrey, we were going to get you in a house, us, the lenders, that kind of stuff. I mean, I know that we sold houses during that time, and you'd be closing, you'd be like, I don't know how they're going to pay for that thing. It turns out they didn't, right? And so, we were part of the problem back then. And so there's been a lot of changes that happened. But anytime someone hears recession, they immediately think, oh no, housing's going to crash. Housing's going to crash. Housing's going to crash. So, but does a recession mean falling prices? Like if you look at the last 7 recessions, other than the one in, this one that we caused, how about all the other recessions? What happens to property values? Yeah, property values continue to rise. And so we had one little blip, 2%, really kind of within the margins on that. But overall, if you look at all the past 11 recessions that we've had, property values continue to increase. And that's a really important figure, because when people say, like when your clients say, how's the market? How's housing? What are they really asking? Is my house worth less today than it was last year, or less this month than it was last month? That's what they want to know. And so is that are we going into that kind of an area? And no, we aren't. And I'm going to show you what's going on with values. So you can see that housing stays strong through recessions, right? And so, these are home prices over the years. What do you notice on all those dark bars? All those are recessions. What housing keep doing?
Why not?
Property values increased by 4.4% for the last 50 years. They continue to steadily increase. Again, we do have some blips, but really that one in 2008 is our biggest one. So now on the positive side, if you can say that, is a recession also means lowering interest rates. Because when you have a recession, the Fed changes their monetary policy. Inflation comes down normally during that time. And so when inflation comes down, what happens to interest rates? Interest rates drop. We already, we just looked and saw how, interest rates are really driving our market right now. And so we have a huge millennial population. We have more buyers. We don't have enough houses. We have a deficit of about 4.5 million houses in the United States. So, we're not looking at that at a recession hurting our property values. We are looking at a recession, hopefully bringing our mortgage rates down even more so. Now, that being said, do I look at us getting back into the 4s and 3s? I don't think so. I really don't. I think we're getting 5. We might get into the really high 4s, but that's going to be a maybe. I just don't. At the 3s and the low 4s, that was artificial. That was propped up by the Fed at the time, and I don't see them going that way again. So you can see this is what happened with mortgage rates. We saw what happened with property values during recessions. So what do you see happen with mortgage rates during recessions?
Down.
They trend down. Exactly. And so I'm not real worried about a recession. I know that sounds and I don't mean that to be like I don't care about people. I know that a recession is not overall not a good thing. But when it comes to housing, we've already had that. Ever since rates started rising, that's when we've had our big recession in housing already. So at the same time, how are our sellers? How are our property owners right now? Are we sitting on a lot of equity, right? 68% of Americans have either paid off their mortgage or have at least 50% equity in their home. That's a big deal, right? Only 32% of homes in the US have less than 50% equity. And I'll be glad to share these slides. Mackenzie will send them out to all the branch managers. You guys can have these slides. So Americans are sitting on tons of equity right now. So, and they're in a very safe place. Now, the other thing that kind of goes along with that equity is they haven't been taking it out. If you look at, you can see on this graph right here, look at what cash out withdrawals and home equity line of credits were doing pre the 2005, 2006 housing crash. What were Americans doing? They were taking a lot of money out of their houses. How about now? Tons of equity. We have tons of equity, and Americans overall are taking less and less and less of it. It's nowhere near, the 4 or 5% it was pre-2006. So housing is in a very stable place to move into a recession. Actually, we're in a really good place to help pull everybody else out of a recession as well. So, but what is the one thing that can stand in the way of your business this spring? You. Yep. Your mindset is what's going to determine this. There is a lot of business still being had out there. And if you are the one who says, and I bring this up because I keep hearing, I don't know, I think it's going to be bad. I don't know, I think there's a recession coming. I don't know that, interest rates are never going to come down. I don't know, this is going to be going on. All these things I keep hearing. And you know what? You can absolutely talk yourself into that. You can absolutely convince yourself that, you know what? The market is garbage. And if you say the market is bad, how do you treat your business? Bad, right? And so and I guess what I'm trying to say, make is 2 points. One, market's not bad. And two, even if it was, it's up to you. If it's to be, it's up to me. You've got to take that mindset. That's what's really, really important for us. Because our 2023 home buying market is open. Okay, we need to be ready to rock and roll. Now, our market is changing a little bit this year. We found some really interesting things. So like, this is what our home buyers were looking at last year. Last year, as far as just percents of distribution, you can see the millennials made up about 43% of our buyers last year. And so our millennials have been moving more and more into our home buying session. And more into home buying. They're already our largest population growth group out there. They're bigger than the boomers are now, that kind of stuff. But 2023 has been kind of a weird year, right? We have Americans with a lot of equity. We also have lots of things going on. What's happening in 2023? Guess where our biggest piece of buyers is coming from right now? Younger boomers, older boomers make up 40% of our buyers right this minute. Dun, dun, dun. Isn't that interesting? Right? Because when we think buyers, what do we think? Millennials, we think younger buyers, who's been owning home buying all through the first part of this year? Boomers have, right? Our boomers have really been driving housing coming forward. Now, I don't say this because I think that millennials are out of our market. I don't think that millennials are going anywhere. Okay, matter of fact, I think millennials are going to be a really big force for us. But what's the big driving factor for millennials? We just talked about it. Interest rates, right? We interest rates first part of the year has been all up and down. Like January, they started trending lower. Boom, sales blew up. But then they started playing all over the place. Millennials have been holding off. Who hasn't been holding off? Boomers. Our baby boomers have the upper hand right now in a lot of home buying situations. What are our boomers coming to the table with when they buy? We just looked at it. How much equity do we have right now? So what are boomers coming to the table with? And so we're seeing where the boomers are really kind of driving the buying market at the moment. So I just want to make sure that we're looking at, like, you don't want to be like, hey, all I want to do is appeal to millennial buyers, because there's a lot more than just millennial buyers. Now, I do believe that millennials are definitely here. They're going to be a really big force moving into the year, but they are highly motivated by interest rates or driven by interest rates. But our boomers, please don't think your boomers are only our sellers, because right now they're the biggest piece of our buyers that we have. So when do the millennials decide to buy? What's the most important factor when a millennial decides to buy? Is when they make that decision that I want to build my own equity instead of paying somebody else's off. And so for us, that's a very good message for us to be sharing it on social media, into our databases, things like that. A lot of times it's going to be a change in life, that kind of stuff, stability, settling down. They're just it's time to do it. But still, building equity, driving equity is a very big deal for our millennial buyers moving forward. What are the main reasons for renting? This one's interesting. They're waiting for home prices to come down. Ooh. Well, I mean, exactly. They're going to be waiting a while. But like when you see the news and those things going on, and if you're not talking about what's really happening in the market, if you're an uneducated millennial, not speaking down to millennials, but our market's just been really topsy-turvy. There's a lot of things going on. We got a lot of millennials sitting in the background, just kind of like in the meme there, kind of like, just waiting for that market to crash. And is housing going to crash?
Yeah.
No, we're not seeing any signs of housing crashing. There's a lot of equity. There's a lot of demand. There's a lot of money in it right now. So the biggest reason our millennials are waiting is they're waiting on house prices to come down. We have to be the voice that's educating them on this, because that's not real. We're not seeing, now there are some markets where that is real for them. Like out in the West Coast. West Coast is having some property value declines. Not huge, but out west, it's not the same, especially here in Georgia. Georgia's in a really good place. We got about 80,000 people that move into Georgia a year, more than move out. There's a lot of great things going on. We're in the Sun Belt, so Georgia's in a different position than some of the other states out there. So even though, I'll show you some national numbers, understand that real estate's still local. So in addition to that, we got a lot of millennials who are giving up on home buying. And this one hurts my heart. This one worries me, because wealth is tied up in home ownership. So if I'm an investor and I own the apartment building and you rent from me all that time, I have just taken your wealth. Wealth is tied up in homeownership. That's why redlining was such a horrible thing. Wealth is tied up in homeownership. And so we have to, and so the fact that folks are giving up on home buying, we got almost, and it's been increasing over the last 5 to 6 years. More and more people are giving up on home buying. I think part of this is an education thing. Sometimes people just kind of get in, I know families that their grandparents rented, their parents rented, they're gonna rent. That's kind of their mindset. I'm just gonna rent. I've always rented, my family's always rented. This is what we do. Yeah.
So I did rentals for the last 10 years, and one of the biggest issues that I see is it's trying to change the mindset of them taking in from renters to homeowners.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are stopping in the basement with that mindset, and I think for a lot of them, it's that comfort zone, and they're afraid of that long-term investment. That's the issue that I'm having. So even though I have a large database, when reaching out to them, that's the #1 thing. Oh, we don't want to rent right now. Like I said, oh, maybe the market, the interest rates come down, the prices come down. So they're comfortable where they are, but when I tell them the benefits of becoming a homeowner, they still want to rent.
But and just for everybody online, in case they couldn't hear, worked with a lot of rentals in the past, and a lot of our clients really get in that comfort zone in the rental space. And it's just easier to stay there than it is to kind of break out. Well, that for us is the biggest challenge, because that's one of our biggest, upcoming buyer segments, is really trying to help motivate them. It worries me when I see, a quarter of renters that are willing to just kind of take it on the chin and give away all that equity, because, there's a lot of stability that comes with home ownership as well as wealth. Now, on the positive side, they went out and they polled and they said, are you willing to pay more for a monthly mortgage compared with rent, given the long-term benefits? 25% of renters said that they pay $500 more a month in order to own. 14% said they pay $1,000 more a month to own. So is there still a lot of demand to own houses from folks that rent? Absolutely. 83% of renters want to own. So it's not like it's all bad news, but that we definitely need to be speaking that message, especially to our millennials. Now, at the same time, Atlanta and the Atlanta area has negative rental growth, negative rental rate growth. And so this, to me, I see as it is a double-edged sword, because on one hand, I don't want folks to take it that it's just easier to rent, and I'm going to keep renting. Right? I want that, but on the other hand, where's the largest source for down payment funds for our first time buyers? Savings. So if they are paying lower rents, what can they do? They can save more. So it kind of depends on which message are we really wanting to talk about. Are we wanting to talk about the benefits of home ownership, or we want to talk about the fact that, hey, stay here and rent because it's cheaper? And is renting cheaper right now than it is to own? It's pretty close right now at the moment. Even though we've seen, and if interest rates come down, that will probably start leveling off even more. But it's pretty flat at the moment. But if rental rates keep going down, then it'll be cheaper to rent. Interest rates come down more, it's going to be cheaper to buy. But to me, the big kicker here is this slide right here. The average net worth for a renter in the United States is $8,000. The average net worth for a homeowner in the United States is $300,000. Which group would you like to be part of? I mean, it's the bottom line, right? And I can't say, look, buy a house, you're instantly worth $300,000. That's not what I mean. But if you just took out all the folks that own homes and said, what's your net worth? Let's say it's $300,000. And then all the folks who rent, what's their net worth? $8,000. Like it's not even close. It's like ridiculously different. And so it's a really big deal. When we say wealth is tied up in home ownership, there's not a slide that shows that any more than this one does. It really is super important that we are the message, or we're the people that's talking about that message, because are we going to see this on the news? No, we aren't. And for those and for those baby boomers who are doing really good right now, why are they doing really good right now? Because they bought homes, they're homeowners, and now they're carrying forward all that equity, which is why they've been running the show for the first part of this year. So it's a really big deal, and one that we need to be the voice that is speaking this out into our communities. Now, at the same time, I do feel that affordability is going to be a challenge for us moving forward. Now, two areas that I want to talk about, and what I don't want to see us do is just immediately poo-poo these things I'm going to talk about. Because when I talk about condos, townhomes, and manufactured properties, a lot of times realtors kind of give me that, ew, right? And now I realize that back in 2006, when the market crashed, we had a lot of condos and townhomes that were everywhere. There was a huge building boom right before that. And then there was a lot that went into foreclosure. And we had a lot that really lost a lot of value. But where's that 3-2 ranch that we started off with back when 3-1 ranch. When Ming and I first bought our first house, that little 3-1 ranch. Yeah, we shared one bathroom. We thought that was how it was supposed to be. Right. But where's that 3-1 ranch, 3-2 ranch today? It isn't there. I mean, it's just it's not a product that's available. And so for a lot of our first time buyers, what is their starter home product? We're seeing condos and townhomes being a good option. Now, that being said, I know you can find condos that are cost way more than a house. I can find townhomes that are ridiculous, but overall, both those products are less than most single families. Now, what we're seeing right now happen is that inventory for manufactured and for condo is both up compared to single family. Single family is down. So we're seeing more inventory and less demand on those products. And so residential real estate heavily driven by supply versus demand. I got more supply, less demand. How's that going to affect price? It's going to push it down in those markets and on those products kind of thing. At the same time, we're seeing so we're seeing more availability of products of those type of properties. We're seeing less demand for those properties. So is this a better place for our buyers to be, especially for our buyers looking for deals, things like that? And these are just national numbers kind of thing. But like look at what the manufactured home values are. A manufactured home average price is $150,000. And so I'm not saying that a manufactured home is right for everybody, but are there some folks who's looking for, like, I got $150,000 I can spend, and you're like, I don't know of a single place I can put you in. Well, is a manufactured home an option for them? I think we have to be ready to look outside of regular areas, and there's already been a big shift going on with that. We've seen where overall, where people are moving, they're moving out of urban, out of suburban, into small town and into rural. Small town and rural has blown up over the past 2.5 years, and it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon. Right now, pre-COVID, we moved on average 14 miles from the place where we sold to the place where we bought. Now it's 50 miles. Ever since COVID, we've moved a lot farther from the place where we sold to the place where we bought. And so we're seeing a shift go on there. And we just have to be creative for our clients, because we are going to have some clients where price is a big deal. And so it's time to start looking at some other products out there. It's going to be important for us. That just shows what's happening with the inventory levels. You can see the inventory levels in manufactured condos are both up compared to single families. So where are our prices going? Do y'all remember the last year, like just last year? Remember what was all over the news? It was really good about housing, Housing prices dropping 20%. There's 210 markets in the US going to drop 20%. Everywhere, all home prices going to drop 20%. How right were they? Not even close, right? Not even close. And so this is actually the trend graph about what we see happening with property values. And I do want you to feel very comfortable with what we've kind of seen. Now, these are national numbers. Georgia does not have a dip into the red at all. But when you look at national numbers, so when the interest rates started spiking up, you know, last year, what happened to home values overall? Well, they started trending down. And then July, August, September, all the way through the first part of the year, they were all trending down. What happened in February? March? How about what we're seeing in April? I mean, the numbers for April aren't out yet, kind of thing. Not on the national level kind of thing, but that bowl right there, like we're hitting right back out of this thing. So I feel very comfortable with where home prices are. We're moving in. I mean, we're in our spring buying season, which has been really strong. We're also heading into our summer buying season, which is our best time of the year. You really think that with more demand coming and we have very limited supply that we're going to see prices drop? No, we're not going to see prices drop. So we're in a very solid place. And that's another thing that we want to be able to talk about, you know, because folks like, should I buy or should I wait? Because if I buy, what happens if property values drop? Are they going to drop? I see no way that they can, just based on simple supply versus demand. And so if you look at FHA, you look at CoreLogic, you look at Case-Shilling, all the numbers match. We hit that trough that was all driven by interest rates. And as interest rates start to lower, what are we going to see? We're going to see where that's going to put even more pressure on property values. So even Fannie Mae, you know, in January, February, March of this year, they're predicting that overall nationwide is going to be down 4.2%. Now they're predicting that nationwide is down 1.2. Georgia is still going to be in that 2 to 4% property value increase, though. So, matter of fact, this is CoreLogic's estimation for the year. They're expecting 8% property growth this month and 4.6% for the year. And honestly, we're really glad to see it. That is incredibly helpful. It's healthy because property values increase on average for the last 50 years, 4.4%. And so if we can increase property values by 4.6, I've never been so happy to be normal in my life, right? That's exactly what we want. You know, I mean, this puts in a range that is very comfortable, very reasonable. At the same time, remember, real estate's local. When you see all this national news, understand that there are independent markets that are down. West Coast is heavily down, or the entire west side of the country is not. You can see the numbers on there, kind of thing. Some places a lot more so than others. You know, Las Vegas is down almost 1%. Is that what's going on in Georgia and Atlanta? No, it isn't. So make sure you keep that in mind when you look at these numbers here. Now, one place where we are seeing some difference here, and that is in the pricing categories of homes and overall inventory levels of homes. And so what we're seeing right now is that for the entry level and the mid level pricing tiers, the demand and pricing are really, really good. On the other end, we are seeing where home values for the top tier are flattening and even a little bit down. So if we do start seeing, or where we are going to see more price reductions and not as much of growth, it's going to be in the top tier. That's what we're seeing already right now, is that the growth on the top tier is not as strong. And not that that's great news, but a lot of times we have clients who think that, well, it's a seller's market or it's a buyer's market or things are really good or that kind of stuff, but it's really based on price. So are you going to be able to find a better deal? I mean, are you going to be able to go and you're going to find a great deal and be able to kind of maybe come in and make an offer under asking at $200,000 home? No. $900,000? We might have a little bit of wiggle room. That's all we're seeing on there right now. So I pulled up every month. I pull up Georgia MLS as well as FMLS. I like to know what the numbers are really looking at. So you can see that in Georgia MLS, for the month, we're up 2.2%. Actually, FMLS shows us down 1% for the month. So every month it kind of moves around. And so that's overall our values are median home price. For Georgia MLS is 423, for FMLS is 379. As far as overall homes for sale, we have a little more inventory than we did last year. It's up 18.7% in Georgia MLS, 18.9% in FMLS. Now that's good on one stand because we need more houses. But if you look at us compared to where we were several years ago, that's not good. Now, as far as new listings, yes, we may have total inventory that's a little bit higher, but new listings are down pretty significantly. New listings are down 25% in FMLS and 15% in Georgia MLS. So we don't have enough houses already to meet the demand that we have. So can you imagine what happens when interest rates start easing down a little bit more? It's gonna get even more challenging on there. Closed sales is down 19% in Georgia MLS, and we've known that. And I hate seeing that the overall, pending transactions are down by 19%. It's not a win. That being said, we were at 37% under, pending sales. We're down 37%, 36%, 35%. We are working our way and digging our way right back out of it. So, and so the same thing we're seeing. April pending sales is down 16%. And so that's exactly what we want to see, is that we're trending in a very positive way on that. Overall, our median days on market is 46 days on market. And so it depends on how you want to look at it, right? In FMLS, days on market is up 150%. Good. Whoo! Inventory is getting high, right? 15 days in FMLS. It's 46 in Georgia MLS, so 15 days in FMLS. Is that high? No, but it's a lot higher than 6 last year. Is really what it comes down to. So it depends on how you look at the numbers, right? Overall total inventory of homes, you can see that overall in the nation, just total standing inventory nationwide. Well, what happened over this past year when interest rates went up? Inventory rose a little bit, right? But what started to happen this year? It's tightening up. If you look at where we stand in Georgia MLS, we're standing on 2.1 months of standing inventory and a straight 2 months of standing inventory in FMLS. How many months of inventory do we need to have a balanced market where the number of buyers and sellers match up? 6. We anywhere close to that? Nope. So again, do you feel comfortable with where prices are going? Are prices going down? No. And can you say that confidently to a buyer? Yeah, I can. So there's a new report. Adam released this new report. And they're a big national real estate aggregator kind of thing. And so they're like, foreclosure activity continues to climb in Q1 2023. And then they showed this graph. And you're like, whoo, foreclosures are up. And so all these other news outlets, they pick this stuff up. More Americans are losing their homes to foreclosures. Foreclosures on the rise. Foreclosures jumped 22%. Our foreclosures are about to flood the market. Y'all think they are? Well, I don't see them. What's that number look like? So this is how that number really looks. This is U.S. properties with foreclosure filings. By the way, a filing is not actually the foreclosure is actually done. But yeah, you can see in 2020 and 2021 what happened with foreclosures. Well, they were ridiculously low. But why were they ridiculously low? Because we had eviction moratoriums and we had foreclosure moratoriums. We literally could not kick people out, and we literally could not foreclose on property. So should it be higher than it was last year? Yes. Are we seeing this massive uptick in foreclosures? No, we aren't. So watch out for what you see in the news, right? Because are they up? Yeah, but not comparatively. Matter of fact, if you look at just from 2017 to 2019, we averaged, right at about 600,000 foreclosures a year. It's for the last, and so and those were years of low foreclosure. 2017 to 2019, we didn't have very many. The average, that was the average. This is where we're at now. We're half of what the average is. So our foreclosure is going to be flooding our market. No, we don't see that going on at all. Matter of fact, here's Georgia MLS. How many foreclosures were in all of Georgia MLS last month? 9 this year. There was 10 last year. Now, are there more this year than there were last year? Yeah, but that's 10, that's 7, that's 9. That's total foreclosures for all of Georgia MLS for a month. So I'm like, well, how about HUD? all HUD properties all HUD homes are FHA mortgages got foreclosed on. How many HUD homes are there in the state of Georgia right now? The entire state of Georgia. I'm taking bets.
15,
20.
15, 20. Oh, we got 0, 4. McKinsey wins. There's 5 HUD homes in the state of Georgia right now for sale. 5. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not real sure where Ware County is. There's 2 of them there. So there's only 5 HUD homes for the entire state of Georgia. So am I worried about foreclosures going on? And so when clients call and say, hey, I hear foreclosures are going to be a thing. You guys have a list of foreclosures I can get? You know, like, is this going to be a good place? You know, like where are those kind of deals? Are they there? No. I mean, if you want to go to Ware County, in Waycross, you want to go to Waycross, there's a couple of HUD homes there, but that's the only place that we're we're just not seeing that go on. So be careful about the news and what you're consuming, and make sure that you go and check out the data, because housing's in really good shape. And if we could put all those foreclosures on the market right now, what would happen to them immediately? They'd be gobbled up so fast it'd make your head spin. So we are not moving into that. I want to change gears and talk about lending for just a moment. And so in our Fayetteville, as well as in our Newton office, we have a couple of fantastic lenders. That's McKinda Flint over in Fayetteville. Sharon Thompson is in Newton, and they have some really great products. And I love these ladies. If you need great lenders, please, I want to implore you to kind of reach out to them, because they do a fantastic job and we're really, really pleased with them. Now, at the same time, I don't have McKinda and Sharon everywhere. And a matter of fact, one issue that we've kind of had is we've had varying degrees of professionalism with our lenders. We've had, there was a short stint where we changed lenders about like I changed underwear kind of thing. I mean, like it was a revolving door of lenders. And it was really frustrating. It was frustrating for me, and it was frustrating for the entire team. And I know it was frustrating for you as well, right? Having people that you could rely on, count on, that were in the office and solid. So we decided to do something about that. Now, I'm not taking anything away from McKinda and Sharon. They do great, and they're in those offices. But otherwise, we started the Wildfire Mortgage team. And so the Wildfire Mortgage team is all of us. So you got me and Ming, Martin, Wordsworth, Nancy, Melissa, Adrian, Yvette, Mackenzie's part of it. And then we also have Jeremy, Sierra, and Cody. And so we are here to be able to help if you need lending assistance. If you need lenders, the Wildfire Mortgage team is something that we wanted to be able to have something, a company that was very responsive to agents, and that we also had some level of accountability with, because this is us now, and we're going to be able to manage and be a part of everything going on in those transactions. This is not a third-party independent thing. This is us, and we're heavily into it. And so these are the lender pieces for the Wildfire team. And so you are going to see them in the offices, that kind of stuff, but you're also going to see Ming and I, and you're going to see the branch managers and the whole 9 yards. We're all part of the Wildfire Mortgage team. And so, you know, just like on all the rest, conventional FHA, VA, USDA, and jumbos, those are the bread and butter of what it is. Got really good rates, but more than anything, we're here to serve agents and clients. So if you have any kind of issues of responsiveness, if you have any kind of problems that you need, you don't have to go anyplace else. You can come and we can help and assist you in that. By the way, Sharon and McKinda, same kind of thing. So I'm not knocking them either by any means. But you can find us at the wildfiremortgageteam.com, team at Wildfire Mortgage, or I'm sorry, Wildfire team at Cardinal Financial, and then that's our direct phone number. You are going to start seeing in the office new signage coming soon. I just didn't want you to see the signage in our office and be like, who's that? Because that is me, that is us, kind of thing. You're going to start seeing flyers. We're going to be sponsoring CE classes. We're going to have new open house support for all the agents that like to do open houses. We're going to be adding you guys in and be able to give you options to be able to utilize list reports. So they're going to help you share information out onto social media, things like that. We're gonna have some co-branding and co-listing and co-marketing information for you to be able to utilize. It's gonna be integrated in KV Core where you can share leads and send leads back and forth through there. We're also gonna be integrating Total Expert as well as the HomeBot, which are both lead systems to help agents grow more business. So all that is coming. I just didn't want you to, I mean, that's stuff that's gonna be happening over the next month or two, and I just didn't want you to be like, what's going on? I just figured I'd just go ahead and like come clean and just throw it out there right from the very beginning. So I hope this was a helpful meeting, you guys. I hope you guys learned something and feel very comfortable. Like I feel like we're heading into what's going to be a rock star time for real estate. And if you don't, I really want you to like get these slides from me. Go and actually do the digging yourself. I want you to feel very confident and comfortable in being able to speak to your clients. I'm never one of these who's like, it's always a great time to buy. It's always a great time to sell. I don't believe that. But right now, I feel very comfortable in saying that, like, do you want to be part of a rising property values? Or do you want to just keep paying other people and let them make money off you? So that being said, we're going to wrap up here with our top producers. And so, we've got, all of our top sales agents for the month for the company: Tammy, Jasmine, Yvette, Chantel, Bernita, Shoni, Ludlow, Jennifer, Cynthia, and then the Kirks. That's overall for the company. And then we're going to go over it individually in each of the offices. And Tony, I do see you, girl. I do. So thank you guys very much. I really appreciate you and love you guys. If you need anything, please call, text, smoke signals, and we'll talk to you guys soon. All right.